Buddha, Christ, Hermes, Rumi, Lao Tzu, and countless other spiritual teachers have advocated the importance of exercising detachment in a measure. Now, this video is about this art of detachment, with a focus on the sermon of Meister Eckhart, who is considered to be perhaps the greatest Western spiritual teacher. He lived in the 13th century. He was a theologian, a master, a university professor, a philosopher, a mystic, and a metaphysician, an incredible human figure. His teachings are just so incredibly deep and profound and remarkable that it takes a lifetime to understand them in its totality. It really is remarkable. Now, the sermon on detachment can be found in his collected works. Mine is the translation of C.D.B. Evans. It is a pretty archaic translation. It's a century old. I bought this back in New Zealand and have been using it ever since. So I'm not going to read the whole sermon because I've already done it. You can find the video on my channel. But I'm going to read certain parts of it and give a brief commentary about them. Now, in the beginning of the sermon, Meister Eckhart says that I've read many writings of heathen philosophers and sages, of the Old Covenant and of the New, and have sought earnestly and with all diligence which is the best and the highest virtue, whereby a man may knit himself most narrowly to God. Then he says that after reading all scripture and philosophers' writings and books and etc., etc., I have noticed that detachment is the greatest virtue. He says that if the human mind is filled with occupations, it is filled with worries, anxieties, fears, desires, whatever, it is incapable of communicating with the divine. The manifoldness of the worldly life, the multiplicity that it affects on the mind is immense, basically. So in order to gain a sense of spiritual awakening, one must first attain a bit of clarity. One should remove certain things from one's mind, and by doing so, the divine itself communicates with the mind. In his own words, he says, detachment forces God to come to me. Now, Eckhart in his writings tends to quote other philosophers as well. For example, in this sermon, he quotes Ibn Sina or Avicenna and says, it was Avicenna the philosopher who said, the mind detached is of such nobility that what it sees is true, what it desires befalls, and its behests must be obeyed. Eckhart then brings a brilliant discussion on the relation of detachment to eternity. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of this whole sermon because he touches upon a very delicate and important aspect and importance of detachment. Now, in Eckhart's philosophy, suffering is caused in our being situated in time and temporality. Temporal pleasures, temporal relationships, and temporal experiences, due to having a beginning and an end, causes us to suffer. And this is the main reason that we suffer in this life, is because we're in time. Had we been in eternity, we would not have suffered. But he says that if a person exercises detachment, then he will be wrapped away into eternity, where nothing temporal affects him, nor is he in the least aware of any mortal thing. He has the world well dead, he has no relish for anything earthly. In the state of eternity, there is no sense of time. Now, eternity does not mean endless duration. Rather, eternity is when time stops. We catch glimpses of eternity throughout our daily life. For example, when you're immersed in reading a great book, you forget about the time. You don't check the clock. You're simply on a level of reference beyond time. Or when in sexual union, human beings also catch a glimpse of the eternal. That is why they're so drawn to it. In the words of Ananda Kumara Swami, it is as creatures of time that the fading of flowers and the death of friends distresses us. So the more we are removed from time, the closer we are to eternity, to bliss, and to beatitude. Eckhart then gives a clearer definition of what detachment is. He says, true detachment means a mind as little moved by what befalls. by joy and sorrow, honor and disgrace, as a broad mountain by a gentle breeze. Such motionless detachment makes a man superlatively godlike, for that God is due to his motionless detachment, and it is from his detachment that he gets his purity and his simplicity, and also his immutability. Detachment is the best of all, for it cleanses the soul, clarifies the mind, kindles the heart, and wakes the spirit. It detaches the creature and makes her one with God. Now, Eckhart was, of course, a professional theologian, and he was well versed in scripture. So, in order to clarify his idea of detachment, he makes a reference to a biblical story. In the Gospel of Luke, we read that Jesus goes to the house of Mary and Martha, who were two sisters. Martha busies herself with many tasks, trying to serve the Lord, trying to serve Jesus, so to speak. Mary, on the other hand, sat quietly at the feet of Jesus and listened to his words. When Martha complained that Mary had left her alone to serve, Jesus said, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Unum est necessarium. Mary has chosen the better part, and it shall not be taken from her." For Eckhart, this story serves as an allegory for the soul's two tendencies. Martha here represents multiplicity and the active life, the many tasks, desires, and concerns of the external world. Mary symbolizes the soul that is gathered inward, that is reserved, or the contemplative life, so to speak. When Christ says that one thing is necessary, he points to the still center of being, the inner unity that detachment seeks to uncover. Detachment for Eckhart is not mere withdrawal from action, nor indifference to the world. Rather, it is a state of the soul that is inwardly free, free from attachment to results, to possession, to self-will. The detached person, like Mary, no longer seeks God through the mediation of things, but in the pure immediacy of being itself. In this stillness, the soul becomes a receptive, a transparent vessel through which the divine can act and proceed. In this sense, Mary has chosen the better part. Does not mean that work is something that should be disregarded. Rather, what Mary had done was that she had transcended the restlessness of the external activities and rested, so to speak, in the stillness of the divine ground.